G'day viewers, it's the end of another week, so it's another weekend edition of TFU. Looking at things around the world that are totally fucked up, and if you want to know why I've taken so long to put this out, you could peruse across to my second channel, Not So Angry Aussie, where I explain my lack of motivation somewhat. But we're here, and there's material, and seriously, yeah, spoiled for choice. The delay, not because of lack of material. So much, had to cull heaps. Look, I want to start. Recurring stories I've done over the years, they seem to keep happening. People who argue against something who end up being guilty of that or being that type of person. You know, anti-drug campaigners who are drug users. People on the conservative end of either politics and or religion arguing against the gays who turn out to enjoy the gay action. And it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. But this one, I reckon I've found one. I'm pretty much willing to make a prediction of what will happen in this guy's future. Sort of like all the telltale signs are there, and if he never gets revealed to be a self-hating, closeted gay, I will be a little surprised. That does not excuse his stupidity and idiocy. I know self-loathing and confusion can make people do weird things. Not an excuse, and if he isn't gay, not an excuse for being such an idiot. Now this guy, he's a councillor from an area called the Forest of Dean, which I think is in the west of the UK. His name is John Sullivan, and among very stupid, ignorant, shit for brains, bigoted crap he said about gay people, this one is both a combination of colossally dumb and I think a really big indicator. One of his brilliant observations is more physical activity, more exercise. That would get rid of the gay. Because either this guy, again, as I say, he's either phenomenally stupid, in denial, or he's never been to a gym, which is, you know, again, not in the derogatory sense, but about the second gayest place next to a gay bar is a gym. This guy has got the idea that lots of exercise means less gay. Reality tends to not agree with him, and also the way the guy fixates on, he wants school kids to be doing the exercise. That'll get the gay out of him. Again, someone like this, spending that much time thinking about exercising school kids and gayness, not quite sure he's gay. I mean, that's what he looks like. The moustache means nothing, okay? I'm sure that stock photo is possibly the weirdest and creepiest one of him, or maybe it's the only one of him, and he always looks like. Point being, if this guy ever does come out of the closet or gets outed by someone else, I will be among the least surprised people in the world, quite honestly. Another story theme that recurs in TFU world is stupid criminals, either with self-incriminating behaviour or really dumb excuses they apparently expect to believe. And a bit of an amalgam here. Let's say I've had stories before about drug dealers calling the cops to say they've been ripped off when they apparently don't realise how that could end badly for them. Or people who hire a call girl in areas where prostitution is illegal, where sex work is illegal, and they feel they've been hard done by the sex worker they've hired, so they call the police to complain that they didn't get what they want out of what is an illegal transaction in their area. Well, this one is kind of like this. The guy, he's burgling a house, and while he's in there, he hears the noise. Now, you and I, if we're asleep at night and we hear things getting knocked about, we could be excused for going, oh my God, I think there's a burglar in the house. And we will call the police. If you're a burglar and you hear other noise that you think, I think there's another burglar in the house, calling the police is not necessarily your best option. But that's what this guy did. He calls the police and goes, I think there's a burglar at this house. The police come and they search the house and they go, ah, we have you, burglar. And he goes, no, I'm the one who called you. Ah, so this is your house. No, but so what are you doing in this house? I'm burgling? But I called you about the other guy, and there was no other guy. The cops said maybe it was the family cat. Yes, I think this guy has self-selected himself out of a life of crime and probably into a life of a convict. Now, another interesting one where you find out a lot of people who break the law don't break the law because they're criminal masterminds. They do it because they're really stupid and they don't understand what's going to happen to them. Like drink drivers, people I have no time whatsoever for. Now, often when someone crashes a car when they're drunk, if they don't get caught, they'll run away from the scene. If they just leave the car somewhere, they cleverly call the police and say their car was stolen. If they manage to get the car home, they'll wait till they sober up the next morning and then call their insurance company and say, oh, someone hit my car when it was parked. I used to work for an insurance company, and the official acronym for that is damaged while parked is DWP, which a joke among the underwriters was it really stands for driver was pissed. But you can't, it's hard to prove that if someone crashed the car and then called you later that they were drunk. Yeah, and that's why they do it. So that actually often doesn't work. Often doesn't because people are stupid and they don't realise what all the evidence points to, but it can work. Where it won't work is if, as in this case in Florida, I know, surprising, I've got another dumb criminal story from Florida. Contain your surprise. But yeah, this guy, the cops have come to a suspicious car because it stopped in the middle of an intersection. And the guy is asleep in the driver's seat, and the car is engaged in drive, but his foot's on the brake, and he's unconscious, reeking of alcohol. And he does turn out to record quite a high blood alcohol level. I'm not sure what the legal limit is in Florida. The readings I saw in the article were triple the legal readings you'd have in Australia. But when the cops shake him and go, hey, he snaps up and goes, whoa, he goes, you're drunk. And in the car he goes, no, I'm not driving. My brother is. Now, in a lot of circumstances, that might work. For instance, if your brother was in the car, if you were in the passenger seat and said, he must have run away while I was asleep. I don't fancy your chances of that working if you're in the driver's seat, the engine's running, it's in drive, but your foot is on the brake. You know, kudos for quick thinking, but losing kudos for coming up with a phenomenally stupid excuse. Dude, I'm with the cops. You are on the totally fucked up end of the criminal spectrum. In Australia, we often like to kick it up a notch with the getting involved with the police and the vehicular crime. For instance, a guy who was arrested after driving at 150k in a 100k zone. For non-metric people, that's 90 in a 60 zone. The story gets reported as, I've written notes here, want to get it straight. Driver jailed over naked vacuum cleaner part wielding police chase. Yes, when you see a headline that's got all that in it, you know, this guy is going to be on the special side of things. Now, how it transpired, he pulled over and he gets pulled over for speeding. And it's at such an extreme level, the police let him know, under the laws, because the extreme of your speed, your car will automatically be impounded. We're taking it from you now, no matter what. At which point, he speeds off. Now, we've still got the two other bits to come in. Wielding a part of a vacuum cleaner and being naked for the chase. Now, this is explained by his defense lawyer as recounted in the article. The vacuum cleaner pipe was apparently because this guy says he occasionally earns a living as a busker and he uses the vacuum cleaner pipe as a musical instrument. As you do. Where does the naked come in? There was the simple explanation. He was naked because the sarong he was wearing got caught on the handbrake and ripped off. Now, honestly, haven't we all been there? Some people might cast doubt on that part of the story, but seriously, let the man who has never had his sarong being ripped off by being caught on the handbrake, let him cast the first stone. by cracky, you'd get pelted with a lot of stones if that was your defense. And his other excuse for driving off away from the police is he eventually stopped in a McDonald's car park, and he said because he knew there were cameras there and he didn't trust the police and he wanted his arrest to be captured on camera. And dude, if you are going for an insanity plea, that little compendium, that may actually well work in your favour. Now, I'm going to go into another story from the Antipodes. This one's from New Zealand. Not funny at all. Disturbing from a couple of different directions, depending where your concerns lie. A guy has been jailed in New Zealand for looking at what's been generally called pixie porn from manga. I think it was the printed form he had. Yes, anyone who knows the Japanese comics know they get pretty fucking weird and bent. And they portray things in the comics that are most definitely illegal everywhere else in the world. Now, I'm not completely immune to the argument that lines on a paper don't hurt anyone. What does it matter what's represented by lines on a paper? It's just that the people who collect these, and there have been prosecutions and jailings in New Zealand, Australia, and the US, just that I know off the top of my head. People have been jailed because the way lines were drawn on a piece of paper were taken to be child sex offences in all cases, because it involved entities that some not even meant to be human, but prosecutors say that represents an underage form or bestiality in some cases, and therefore we're going to prosecute you under child porn laws. Child porn laws. Someone worried more might actually edit that. I obviously mean child porn laws. So yeah, you can argue this, and I actually have a problem with the people who draw an absolute straight line between, if you look at this sort of image or if you read this sort of writing, you will most definitely commit this sort of crime. I have a problem with that being used as an absolute irrefutable linear logic. I also have a problem with horrible fucking creepy people who seem to have a fixation on this type of porn. So yeah, I think no matter whether you're the pure libertarian or you're the real moralist or somewhere in the middle, you can find something to find seriously fucked up in this story of the pixie porn. Now I'm going to round up with a seriously fucked up story that should be getting way more coverage than it is, and is being weirdly overshadowed by stories from the same part of the world that I think are destined to be a non-event. Now, what we've been seeing lots of is North Korea. Ooh, North Korea crazy. How dangerous are they? I'll go out on a limb and say fuck all is going to come out of this North Korea bullshit. And I started thinking that as soon as China stood up and said, North Korea, pull your head in. Because China is basically North Korea's only ally, and North Korea are totally dependent on China for their existence. So when China tells you to shut the fuck up, I suspect everything from then on is just posturing. And you know what? If I'm wrong and there is some horrible war, I don't think I have to worry about people going, you were wrong, because we'll all have bigger concerns. I don't believe that's going to happen. But something in the same part of the world, which has much more potential to be much, much, much worse, doesn't seem to be getting as much attention. Now, the main players in that part of the world, North Korea, South Korea, China, Japan, Taiwan, if you like to see Taiwan as an independent entity, which China doesn't. But there are a lot of islands in that area, and ownership of those can be contested. And there is a particular group of islands that Japan and China particularly don't see eye to eye on. Japan currently has control of them. China believes them to be Chinese territory. They're of strategic value. Fisheries and other things are worth money around them. Now, Japan controls them at the moment. China has been sending warships around the area. Japan's been posturing. China's been posturing. Most recently, when China has said Japan doesn't really own them, we do. And there's been indications China may land ships on the island and land people on the island. In the Japanese Parliament, the Japanese president has said they would respond with extreme force if China did that. See, now, that's not good. In the current geopolitical status, a lot of people in the West may default to, I think we're more friends with Japan than China, aren't we? Broadly speaking, yes. But if you want a reason to be quite mistrustful of Japan and the motivations, look in some history books. Find out a bit of the action that happened in the Asia-Pacific region in World War II. And I would suggest looking up things like the Rape of Nanjing, the Bataan Death March, Changi, the Burma Railway. Basically, the Japanese Imperial Army behaved in a most disgusting fashion. You're probably used to people invoking Hitler and the Nazis as the worst. Very bad, yes. Japan, not exactly holding themselves head and shoulders above the behaviour of their Nazi allies. Major atrocities committed against pretty much everyone in the Asia-Pacific region, and special viciousness reserved for other Asian countries. So China's in a fair fuck-off mood to Japan, because one of the reasons Japan says they want those islands is because there's a shrine on there to Japanese war dead, and included in the name, honoured roll on there are out-and-out war criminals from World War II. So yes, while in the abstract you might say, well, everyone has shrines to their war heroes, and in fact you get Japanese government and nationalists saying, everyone else has war hero shrines, why don't we? Because you're actually worshipping war criminals. And like I said, the old Godwin's Law invoking Hitler, this is the equivalent of a German saying, what's wrong with me honouring Hitler and these, the Auschwitz prison camp commandant? It's that level of war crime we are talking about here. So that's one of the reasons Japan and both South Korea have basically gone into fuck-off mode with Japan. Taiwan has too, but you know, China doesn't even think Taiwan's independent, so I'm not sure what's going to happen there. So yeah, I think most people know North and South Korea don't get on, and so if China is North Korea's major ally, South Korea is not that well disposed towards China. So if they're going to join up with China in the fuck you attitude towards Japan, you know, it probably is worth a little bit of scrutiny of Japan's motivations and behavior. But the point being, I don't think there is an absolute cut and dried good guy, bad guy scenario, if there ever really is in any conflict situation. But the point being, this is coming to the point of warships facing off, people, the president of Japan, explicitly threatening extreme force against China, and I'm not aware of China being particularly well disposed to anyone who tells them what they can and can't do. So yeah, if you'd stopped worrying about things, if you thought, I'm not really going to worry about North Korea, now I've given you what you should really worry about.